Hello everyone and welcome to Chapter 4, our final chapter in Module 1 of CRJ 111, Police and Society. I'm Professor Steve Martin with the DMAC Criminal Justice Program, and in this chapter we're going to talk about the nature of police work, the functions of the various units within the law enforcement agency, shift work, and things like that. As far as the functions of patrol, some very general definitions: protecting, defending lives and property, uh, repressing criminal activity, identifying, apprehending, convicting offenders, uh, facilitating the smooth flow of traffic, creating a sense of community, citizen satisfaction, maintaining order and public safety, uh, being a fixture for the quality of life in the community, I believe, is what the primary responsibility of the patrol function is. All those things. So you can see it's a very wide, very general, and a very complex role that patrol performs. Patrol is in the business of gathering information, resolving conflicts, maintaining control in society. Very generally, I will add, most everyone starts out in patrol, and that's your first assignment. And some people stay in that their entire career. Some people don't, but it's a one of the favorite things to do for a lot of officers. The general shifts that we see in law enforcement agencies, and this could also be true for correctional agencies too. A day shift may typically consist of an 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., something like that. An evening, or some call it afternoon shift, 4 p.m. to midnight, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. typically. The graveyard shift, or what we call the midnight shift, or overnight shift, the 12 midnight to 8 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. type of a shift. And also there will be shifts that overlap, a 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift to augment both the 3 to 11 or the second shift and the midnight shift. In my former department, I called this day shift or the first shift. This was the second shift, and midnights were the third shift because we did come in 11 o'clock. Other departments actually call the midnight shift the first shift. Day shift would actually be the second shift, and then your evening shift would be your third shift. But again, mine was a little bit different than that. So sometimes that causes some confusion, but those are the basic general hours that you'll be assigned to work. And most new officers actually work the either the afternoon shift or the midnight shift. Types of patrol. Again, textbooks love to talk about this type of thing. You know, directed patrol, where you're focusing on certain problems and issues. You know, it could be a traffic problem, it could be a certain crime problem, whether it be burglaries, bar fights, whatever the case might be. But you're providing some concentrated and aggressive enforcement, saturating certain areas, you know, to specifically curb certain types of problems that pop up. The different types of patrol. Obviously, automobile patrol and squad cars. Foot patrol has become more popular with the advent of community policing. Obviously, foot patrol was the mode of patrol in early policing, which you know, was a good thing. That got the officer close with the community, and that's why it was brought back during the community policing era. Motorcycle patrol is another one. This would not have been a favorite of mine, but and you don't see that many motor officer patrols anymore, except in traffic details in some cities, and of course they use motorcycles for special occasions, parades, motorcades, things like that. So they are still around and do exist in certain locations. Bicycle patrol is another one that you'll use proactively, mostly for crowd situations. And a bike is easier to maneuver through crowds and so forth than a squad car would be. And a lot of times bike patrols augment foot patrols. Patrol by boat, marine units, especially for sheriff's offices and coastal waters. Conservation officers also use boat patrol, and a lot of the major cities that have you know, water as part of their jurisdiction will use some type of a marine patrol. Mounted patrol on horses. You see those again in some of the larger cities. They use those for crowd and riot control on occasion, and also in parades and public relations functions, and aircraft patrol. This is used by state police highway patrol agencies for speed enforcement, search and rescue operations. Even conservation agents on occasion will use these to detect poachers at night. And again, those are just some of the basic types of patrol. And the text also talked a little bit about the due process versus crime control models. This is more of a general criminal justice discussion, where maybe an intro to criminal justice in a class like that, you might talk about the due process model, where you're championing individual rights over the crime control model, where you're actually seeking some efficiency in the system, moving people through the system, guilty pleas, things like this, as opposed to taking advantage of all your civil liberties as you move through the process as a defendant. That's basically the difference between the two of those. And the text did talk a little bit about police officer typologies, personalities, the tough cop, the problem solver, crime fighters, rule appliers, things like that. This is always a lively discussion in class about, certain officers are this way or that way, and it takes all types to make up an agency. And I also do believe that officers' personalities will change throughout their career. I think early on you maybe want to be more of an enforcer as a young officer, but as you move through and develop and mature, you become more of a service provider. And one thing that does happen, I think, is that you go from being an optimist to a realist and understand you can't solve everybody's problems. And it's sometimes a rude awakening for the officer. The goals of policing, again, are, it just kind of depends on the function, but basically you want to try to maintain order, control crime, and provide services as best you can with the resources you have available. Types of services you might provide. Again, these are just helping people, the smooth flow of traffic, motorist assist, responding to alarm calls. Again, this is part of the peacekeeping function in society. You're doing a lot of public outreach and education programs, educating the public on how to be more proactive in preventing crime and preventing their victimization. You have animal control functions that you do, community caretaking functions. You're assisting ambulance and medical personnel on calls all the time. Usually the officers are the first ones on the scene, and have the best chance at maybe helping someone survive a medical issue. Crime prevention programs, again, this goes along with public education. Missing persons searches, yes, you're trying to track down missing persons that have been reported to you. Many times these are runaway juveniles and things like that. Order maintenance, again, it's a reactive versus proactive thing. And law enforcement traditionally in the United States has been very reactive as opposed to proactive. And there's places for both approaches in our system of policing in America. Peacekeeping and order maintenance, again, those are the types of things that we provide just by mere presence or intervention into people's problems, trying to be a problem solver for them, hoping to curb future problems. It doesn't always occur, but that's what we hope to do. Primarily, police would like to gain voluntary compliance with people through just trying to educate them on why they should behave a certain way and not another. And again, they talk about police personality styles as far as, trying to maintain order in society. Zero tolerance policing, again, this is probably going to be more targeted towards certain problems you have, for instance, gang graffiti, or maybe a problem with, drunkenness in a certain neighborhood, or prostitution, or whatever the case might be, where you're targeting hot spots for crime. Investigations, criminal investigation aspects. Again, this is something that a lot of police officers, uniformed officers, do. In some of your larger departments, they'll have a detective or investigator division that specifically takes care of violent crimes, property crimes, crimes involving certain protected groups, children, the elderly, those types of things, certain types of crimes, automobile theft, um, whatever, may pop up, arson investigations, you know, these types of things, again, are handled by specialized investigators in some cases, as well as uniformed police officers. Uh, the text also talked this investigative stages, preliminary investigations. We talk about these a lot in our criminal investigation classes in more detail, photographing, measuring, sketching, documenting the scene, collecting evidence, the proper way to do that, interviewing witnesses, victims, and even suspects. These are all important stages in the investigative process. Interview and interrogation. Again, we have whole classes devoted to this here at DMAC and other college curriculums, so I won't spend much time on this. We also talk about the implications in interview and interrogations of Miranda v. Arizona and the requirements on when those warnings have to be issued. Police lineups. This is something for TV that I've never participated in a live police lineup. We usually used photographs of suspects and did ours that way. But it does make it very dramatic on television when they show these people standing there and our witness or victim trying to pick them out of a live lineup. As far as some other investigative activities the text mentioned, surveillances. One of my favorite parts of the job was doing surveillance, both mobile and stationary, watching targets. Polygraph is something that we use as an investigative tool, not only in the hiring process, but also with suspects and people that may have even been victims of crimes. Criminalistics is going to be the forensic aspect of things, especially taking place at the crime lab. Okay, the use of police technology. Again, this is something that's ever changing and is a ever-growing field. The use of technology, especially wireless technology in the field, has really changed the way police do their job. It's created efficiency, increased efficiency, and our ability to track people down, distinguish fingerprints, DNA, those types of things from databases now has just made the job much easier, and we're putting more criminals behind bars as a result of that. And eventually, and I'm sure it's protecting the public a lot better too. Informants, we rely on informants to help us solve cases, and developing our cadre of informants is a very important part of being a police officer, even the patrol officer on the beat. And that wraps up Chapter 4. Again, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know by email, and I'll be sure to get back to you and help you out with whatever you need. Also, I'm going to put together a little quiz for extra credit, so go ahead and check the course content portion of the class for that. It's going to end when the module ends, so make sure you get that done. It's just a little extra credit quiz over the Module 1 narratives that we've done here. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you again soon.